whack-a-mole, just different, because they keep popping out of different places. You're all having so much fun this morning. Ah, Sina. The perennial question, what is the plural for mongoose? Is it mongoose? Is it mongoose? Do you have one mongoose and many mongoose? Are these two mongoose fighting? Or are these two mongoose fighting? Or are these three mongooses fighting? Are all four mongooses fighting? The answer to that, technically, I believe, is mongooses. But I've heard differing reports from different people. It is not mongoose, despite the goose-geese obvious sort of extension from there. What's going on, you guys? I personally prefer to just talk of them and use mongoose as plural. So, like you have one sheep and many sheep, I kind of like to think of them as one mongoose and many mongoose. I refer to them in general as the mongoose. But I have been told a couple of different things. I've also been told mongooses is correct. Critters, I think, would be the best description. They are having so much fun. We've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of them out on the road. And this is all quite playful. There's nothing aggressive about this, and generally speaking, dwarf mongoose aren't particularly aggressive. Here comes 12 and 13 running along the road as well. Look at them go! Racing along! That's me when I go to breakfast. That's exactly what I look like. Bounce, 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 bounce. Although I generally don't tackle other people on my way. I think what we've got here is we've got a group of them with a couple of sub-adults. And sub-adults tend to be quite high-spirited, and they tend to be quite playful. And that's what's happening here. And if we go back a little bit, say we've got a pair in the road here having a jolly good wrestle. Smack down! I got you! No, I got you! I got you! Oh, distraction! Don't run away from me! Look at this. Using their weight. Oh, I want to play. I want to play as well. No, I don't actually. It's a bit rough for me. I'm out. No, I'm back in. No. This is cool. I've never seen this before. Again, there's no sign of aggression. Not proper aggression. Obviously they're baring their teeth and wrestling with each other. But I don't think it's because they're angry with each other. I don't think it's got anything to do with trying to sort out their hierarchy. I think it's just playful. There've been no solid bites. Whee! Oh, they're fast. See, because every now and again they'll stop and they'll actually allo-groom each other. Oh, here comes a baby! Hi, little one! Oh, this is spectacular. Now we've got a baby dwarf mongoose as well. That thing's the size of my hand. You should be inside, little munchkin. Now the adults are going to have to look after you. Oh, here comes baby number 2. This is insane. There must be about 20 dwarf mongoose here. There we go, we've got one digging, and Peggy, you wanted to know what sort of bugs they eat, or what sort of insects they're after. Look at the baby go! Where are you going, little one? Oh, sorry, Peggy. I misunderstood your question. My apologies. They scratch themselves a lot. You wanted to know what sort of bugs they have on them. Ticks would be the big one. Possibly fleas. But pepper ticks and the smaller species of ticks will target a dwarf mongoose. Just in the same way that they target us on bushwalk. Yay! Look at us go! Now those babies are only just old enough to be out. They're only about, I would guess, at 4 weeks old. It's only around about a month that they start coming out with the adults. And even then, they generally get taken back to the den site for another 2 weeks or so. And we've seen babies before, and we've actually seen this whole situation play out before. Let's see if they'll let us get closer. Obviously, we've gained their trust now. I'm hoping that's going to stay that way. We've seen situations where the adults are they'll grab one baby and put it in the hole, then they'll go and fetch the other baby, and as they put that in the termite mound, the other one pops out. It's like herding wet cats. There's the little baby right. I don't want to get too much closer because they're all spread out. I bet there's a fascinating question. Oh, wait, Mum. There's a very big wide world. Now, we've seen them playfully wrestling, and I said I didn't think it had too much to do with establishing dominance or anything like that. It was more playful. But bet you want to know, well, how do they establish their hierarchy? Look, it would be impossible to say that they never fight. I'm sure fights do happen. I've never, ever seen them seriously fight. That one's got something. It's got some food. Trying to get away from the rest so that it can eat it. I think it's got a solifuge. Oh, and gone. But one of the big ways that dwarf mongoose actually solve conflict is by allo-grooming. And sometimes, in order to establish which of them is the alpha, especially when an alpha dies, because they have an alpha male and an alpha female, and those two will be the ones that breed. Sometimes a beta female or a lower ranking female will give birth, but very often she doesn't actually, her pups don't survive because they get killed by the alpha female. She doesn't want the competition. Oh, we're now right in the middle of them. Let's see if we can... I think if I sit patiently, they might pop out again. I can hear you. I see you too. Yes, I'm talking to you. Now, one of the ways that they actually solve the problem is by grooming each other. They have grooming competitions. And they'll groom and groom and groom and groom and groom and groom until the one simply cannot groom any longer. And then the one that is still grooming will be declared the winner. And you're left with two tiny little mongoose covered in saliva and, all in all, exhausted. From one small thing to another, Tayla's found something tiny with 8 legs.
We have, and it's something that those mongoose that you were all watching would probably like to eat. We have found ourselves a beautiful crab spider, maybe a flower crab spider. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like it's got very many floral patterns on, so perhaps it could just be a normal crab spider, but it is sitting on the beautiful Vernonia, and it is a lovely white color. Now, we're actually having a bit of luck today with the spiders. You can see there is also a gentle breeze as the flower sort of moves around a little bit. But they're incredible little spiders. Now, typically they are camouflaged to the color of the flower that they're sitting on, and they wait patiently. They are ambush hunters, so they do not produce a web like we saw earlier with the hairy field spider that makes a web to catch its prey. This one, if it had that little crickety grasshopper or whatever was sitting next to the little hairy field spider, would probably try and eat it. They sit and wait in anticipation. They are specialists at catching bees and anything that likes to pollinate flowers. So they'll catch butterflies, moths, you name it, caterpillars probably too. And they're really beautiful. You can get some amazing colors, but there are lots and lots of different species of crab spiders throughout the entire world. They're not just found here in South Africa. Now, the only time that you'll see this spider producing a web, and I suspect that this is the female that we're looking at, the big white one, and I think I'll show you the male in a moment. But what happens is a female, once she has mated with a male spider, and he has placed or given a little parcel with his pedipalps to the female, basically, and she will then start to lay eggs. She will lay hundreds of eggs, and she normally does it on the underside of the leaf, and then she'll fold that leaf over and then cover it with silk to sort of make like not quite a sack, but she protects it with the silk, so the leaf is actually doing most of the protecting of the eggs, and of course by folding it over, it's just adding more protection from the wind, or if anything happens to walk past and bump this plant, those eggs will probably not be damaged, which is quite amazing. And then if you look, who I think is the little spider, the male, is just sitting down over there. I'm going to try and hold it still. Let me see if that works. Can you see him? He is tiny. He's orange. There he is. He's got a bit of black on him. Now you can see that's about 1/5 of the size of the male. If I turn him, is that better?
Yeah.
How cool is that? So you can see the female just in right hand corner, and you can see the tiny male just down in the middle of the stem. Now, Lara, you're wondering if these spiders can change color to match their surroundings. I've heard that they can. How they do it, I'm a little bit uncertain. I know from what I've read that it can take a couple of days for them to change color to their flower. So perhaps this one has just arrived and maybe it was on a white flower of some sort. Perhaps it was on the jasmine, James's favorite flower, and now it is said that I feel like a little bit of Vernonia, and that's a good choice because they're just starting to bloom at the moment. So I suspect that we'll be finding lots of insects around this flower in the next few days. But I haven't, unfortunately, read too much about how exactly they do it. I'll have to find a specialist book and specifically research how crab spiders in particular will change their colors. But isn't it just amazing that the male is so much smaller than the female? Now, it's not necessary for him to be massive. I'm actually going to let it go, Darby, because I think I've got the shakes a little bit. Sorry, spiders, there you can see them. You can also see now how strong they are and how good they are at holding on to things as I sent them on from a ride. But yes, male spiders don't need to be particularly large. They're not the ones doing the breeding. They're not laying the eggs. That's one of the theories behind why female spiders are much larger. And I also think the male spiders also can hide a little bit better, because you know what happens is that most of the time after they've mated, the male spider can become a good source of sustenance for the female. And Michael, you were actually wondering exactly why males are so much smaller. So there we go. There's one of the reasons. There's a couple of different theories around it, of course. And remember, out here, a lot of the things we're telling you are just theories until proven otherwise. And it's always specific to animals in a particular area. It may change from sort of environment to environment, I suppose. But I thought that was really, really pretty, and I hope that you got some good screenshots, because I'd love to have a look at them a little bit later. Oh, hang on, you got caught there, Darby. A little bit later. Unfortunately, I do not have a camera with me that can take beautiful pictures. Just on that side. I'll see if it'll go. There we go. Going around again. Our beautiful crab spider. Now, we've actually seen some really pretty ones. Well, since I've been here at WildEarth, we've definitely seen some pretty little spiders. Stop moving. Why is it moving? I think you're getting caught. I thought that the wind had picked up all of a sudden. Let's see if we can get it to settle down and take another look at it. Calm down, plant. Calm down. Is our spider still there? But the color difference actually between the male and the female was quite spectacular. Now, the male is tiny. He's about the size of 3 pinheads put together. He's really, really small. But his coloration is great orange, and then with the very, very sort of dark tips on his pedipalps and his next set of legs. But you can see why they are indeed called crab spiders, just from the way that they sit, with their two front pairs of legs sort of put towards them and the others sort of taken back against the body, very much like a crab. And their initial movement is not to go forward either, it's also to go backwards. So they resemble them very, very well. That is beautiful. Isn't that so cool? We're lucky to find this spider too, because there hasn't been very much out at the moment. And I didn't think we'd see crab spiders because they do enjoy flowers. But they'll have to find other things to sit on as we come into winter and everything starts to disappear, which is pretty cool. But let's keep walking. Let's see what else we can find. Let's check it. Let's have a look. Maybe there's some more on this other Vernonia. Now, Kip, you're wondering if is it true? If male spiders are always smaller than their mate? Oh, Kim, a girl, Kim, yes. I'm not actually sure. For most of them, it will be the case, but I'm sure that there's the exception where that rule does not apply. Which spiders are there? I'm not 100% certain. I'll have to do a little bit of research. There are so many different types of spiders out here, and most of them that we see, if you look at the orb-web spiders, typically the females are better. We've seen it a number of times with the garden orbs, the golden orbs. We haven't seen it yet with the hairy field spider, and I don't think I've seen a male kite spider just yet either. But typically, yes, they are much smaller in size. Now, this is actually really lovely. You can see some of them are being parasitized by insects. I'm not sure what insect. Let me grab one for you. See how something is making little holes in sort of the bud. Oh, there's a hairy field spider. Look, it's just came to join us. Hello. So that's one of the orb-web spiders, the one that we keep looking at, that have the most amazing markings on their back. Look at this one. Looks like it's just got a scary face on its cephalothorax. Don't you think? Can you see its back if I tilt it down more?
Yeah.
There we go. Look at those markings. I always find the patterns on the back of spiders to be absolutely beautiful, and isn't that just so gorgeous?
Very cool.
Very, very cool. Right, there's a bit of a drizzle coming down. We might have to go and seek a bit of shelter. I don't know, Lou, who am I going to? I've completely forgotten. Can you believe that? No, because I do it all the time. James. He's been searching for wild dogs. He's been on such a high the past 2 drives. Let's go and see if he's still buzzing.
No, I'm not buzzing really at the moment. At least the spiders and mongoose have come to the rescue. Lex has just found some elephants up ahead here, so hopefully they won't disappear into the bushes before we can get there. The Nkuhuma Pride made a brief sortie onto Tayla. There's an elephant. Hello, elephant. Thank you for making an appearance for us. You've made my day. The elephant almost looked offended that I hadn't spotted him immediately. No, don't go away. Stay there. We want to be your friend, your best friend today. The rest of the herd is around here. Ooh. Yes, they're actually quite close by. So the Nkuhuma Pride, as I was saying, did make a brief sortie onto Djuma. Then it turned round and went back onto Simbambili, which was very unkind of it. So I shall have a word to them when I next see them. Now that elephant is not alone. Let's just keep watching it and see if he joins the rest of them, who are really pretty close by here. That is why I'm speaking at a low volume. Rohan, do you see them? You do see them. Good man. Let's go and have a look at them, and then I'll move slightly forward. Let's see if we can't get a bit. Shall I do that first, actually? Then it might make your life easier. I think we'll get a nice view just around the corner here. Well, let's stop here first. There we go. Marvellous. And I'm sure you're all pleased to see the elephants, because we all love elephants. I don't know anybody that doesn't love elephants. I know quite a few people who are afraid of elephants, but I think everybody enjoys them from a safe vantage. And that's a cow with her youngster, who's thinking about suckling, or clearly on the way to weaning as well. You can't really see that. Let me move very slightly forward. You can just see the calf underneath the... No, let me wait. Here you are. The elephant obviously realized she wasn't standing in the best position for you to see her baby, of whom she is justifiably proud. And that is, well, that's what she's showing you now. She's watching us carefully, just having a smell, seeing what we're about. We often get asked this question, and I think it is true to a certain extent, but where the legend comes from I'm not sure. The question is, do elephants have good memories? Is it true that they have good memories? And it seems to be a sort of, oh, isn't that beautiful? What do we call it? It would be a human, at least a Western paradigm that elephants have got good memories, which is interesting given that elephants do not exist, or never have existed really in the Western Hemisphere. So they never existed in Europe. And yet we have this imagination, or we imagine that elephants have good memories. And I think somebody may have actually explained this to me the other day, but it's obviously since left my head. They do have good memories, because we discussed this the other day, that they are able to remember where good feeding grounds are, where all the water points are. They transfer that knowledge and memory to their youngsters, either through experience or through actual conversation. We're not really sure which, but probably just by showing them. And where it comes from, though, that elephants have good memories, I don't know. I'm not sure where that comes from. But yes, I would say that they probably do have good memories and a good way of finding, certainly, where they need to be. And it's probably not just areas of feeding grounds. I suspect it is specific trees. When it comes to the marula season, they are excellent at finding where they're supposed to be, or where the specific trees are that they know that they've enjoyed before. They find those trees. Nice question, that. Does anybody know, and if you have told me before, I apologize for not remembering, anybody know where the sort of thought or notion that elephants have good memories comes from? Hashtags for iLive on Twitter, you can tell us. Now, Mercedes, you're in California, and you've asked a question that I actually can answer. You say, do elephants accept strangers? Would they accept a lone female into the herd? And the answer, Mercedes, is yes, they would. And they do. And I know that because I was having a conversation with Tristan the other day, and he's actually done some work with elephants that are in, or not necessarily not in captivity, but with orphaned elephants. And they get reintroduced back into a herd. And they absolutely are fine. They're completely okay with that. So yes, they do accept, unlike a lion pride, which will absolutely not accept strangers, elephant herds do accept strangers. They're very good about it. Much more accepting than even we are as human beings of strangers and those in need of shelter. Let me just... I wanted to sneak forward slightly. I'm going to go around the corner and just see if we can't get a slightly better view of what's going on here. I've yet to be able to take an illegal photograph today, unfortunately. I was hoping to take many illegal photographs of wild dogs today. There's a bit of an opening around here. Oh yes, I think this will be much better. There was a huge amount of elephant noise around the camp earlier this morning. I'm just going to stop. This cow here in front of us is digging out of tree, but I don't want to get too close to her and irritate her. So I'll just stop around there. Have you got a shot there, Ron? There we go. She's picking out and looking for the roots of this combretum tree over here. I think it's the root she's going for. She's doing some extensive excavations. Yes, there we are. She's definitely being extremely specific about what she's looking for. People, of course, sometimes will tell you that an elephant is a bulk grazer, that it's a bulk feeder, that it doesn't really know, it's not particularly fussy about what it eats. That is simply not true. Elephants are very fussy about what they eat. They're very specific. And this cow is looking for roots of some kind. She's not eating. You can see she's still digging, searching, smelling, deciding whether she wants to eat what she's found. Now, Hannah, you're getting hold of us all the way from the mountain state of Colorado, and you're wondering if elephants can survive without a trunk. Some can. It depends how much of the trunk is missing. We've seen elephants in this area with as much as half the trunk missing, able to survive. They somehow cope. They manage to find a way to feed, either by just biting off twigs and trees and that sort of thing. They can put their faces right into the water to drink, so they don't need the trunk necessarily to drink. So yes, in theory they can survive. They're talking to each other now. And they started rumbling at each other as another vehicle started just in front of us. So yes, they can, and one of our favourite characters for a long time, until she moved off somewhere else, I'm not sure where she is, and hopefully she will come back here, was a cow who had about probably the bottom third of her trunk missing, I'd say plus minus, and she got on just fine. So yes, they can survive without them. It's not always very easy, but it can be done. It's like when they don't have tusks. They can also survive very happily without tusks. That's not a problem for them. They just make a plan. And all of the animals out here are just so much more adaptable than we as human beings are. They're just that much more able to deal with pain, I think, and because they don't have the support network of a sort of medical fraternity and an enormous community to feed them, they have to be able to get through injuries and get through the troubles that come with living life in the wild, and so they're extremely adaptable. The little one is now following Mum's example and digging under the ground there. Except this isn't a mum, is it, Ron? It's a bull. That's quite nice to see. So what we're looking at there is a bull, and he's sitting with the youngster, or the youngster's sort of emulating him. I think that's wonderful. I love seeing that. We all love seeing it, and we love seeing it because, well, mammals are pretty poor fathers in general, and we give such huge value to a man in human society that is a good father, that is attentive to his children and his offspring. It's one of the sort of most honourable traits a man can have. And so when we see it, certainly this is how I feel anyway, when I see it in the natural world amongst the mammals, I feel a great sense of sort of warmth. And so what we have here is a big bull almost mentoring a little one there. Now, many of you have sent through kind answers saying much research has proved that elephants have got great memories. Yes, I agree with that. But is there not something in English that happened before that research was done that gave rise to the expression she has a memory like an elephant, or is it a more modern derivation that comes from that research? Unfortunately, we seem to be gathering slightly some precipitation again, which is very, very irritating indeed. But isn't that nice to see? And it's so seldom that you see a bull elephant with a calf, and in fact there was a sighting the other day, which many of you took beautiful screenshots of a massive bull with a tiny calf, and that was just very heartwarming to see. It's the same thing when we see male lions with with babies not eating them, actually sort of playing with them and tolerating their antics. It's such a wonderful, warming thing to see. Now, this big chap is now destroying the tree he was looking at. I might have to move slightly forward for Andrew. This bull is nice and relaxed, so I'm just going to do that very slowly. Just to about there. Is that right, Ron? This is a beautiful sighting. Oh. So he's probably about 25, I guess. He's not a very old elephant. And I still can't, he's pushed over a red bush willow, Combretum apiculatum bush, and he's now sort of searching there for probably thin pieces of root which don't have too much sort of outer or crusty layer inside or outside. He's being completely specific about it. He knows exactly what he's looking for. And of course elephants will dig out bulbs as well. They know which plants have got bulbs underneath them. They pass that knowledge on. He's for the more delicate work, he's blowing air down into the ground and tossing a bit of cooling and pleasant feeling soil onto his back. And there's another big herd calling from the south of where we are now. Oh, look at the strength. It's absolutely phenomenal. He hasn't found what he's looking for, you know. Now, you and I, I'm afraid, wouldn't be able to half pick that tree up. He's doing it with his nose. Isn't that cool? A little drongo flying off there, in fact sitting there. You see the drongo there? Just popped there on the top of the tree there. You see, Andrew?
Yeah, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh my God.
I don't want to move right now, of course, because Andrew is hoping to see the elephant, but we're a bit close for us to be moving too much. Hello, Lance. You're wondering if elephants use their trunks as weapons. They do. They will hit with their trunks quite frequently. And Herbert told us a story yesterday about an experience he had where an elephant actually hit his hat off. That wasn't here, thankfully. But yes, they will hit with their trunks if they have to. Alright, I'm just going to, again, sneak very slightly forward so that Andrew can get a better view. He's being very, very confiding, this elephant. And I think it's because he's not very old, but he's confident enough not to be nervous enough, but certainly not over, you know, he's not arrogant enough to think that he needs to get us out of the way. He's comfortable in his own skin. Oh, this is beautiful. Alright, I'm not moving anywhere from here. I think this is just too beautiful for words, so we'll sit here. But in the meantime, Jamie has got something that, yes, might be described as death from above.
Death from above flew away. It was really beautiful as well. I had such a nice link planned about how beautiful James's elephants were, and it's gone. Oh well, there is a certain inevitability to that, isn't there, Seb? Ah, it's live wildlife. Sometimes when you want to show you birds, they fly away. That's what happens when you try to film things with wings. Let's see if we can catch up with it. There is a road that links around to where it's flown, so maybe we'll get lucky. It was one of my top 5 raptors. Gorgeous African hawk eagle. And there's usually 2. Where there's 1, there's 2. Alright, death from above. Where have you gone? You become death from below? And they truly are. African hawk eagles are extraordinary hunters. All raptors are. But African hawk eagles have a specialized technique with a pair of them. The male and the female hunting in tandem, with one flying high, one flying low. And it's extraordinary to witness. It's one of my dreams to get that on camera. Oh, it's a stump. I got excited. It's a stump. No, it's a... Is that the eagle? Oh, that's hugely inconvenient. Okay, let's try and get round. I think we might have a better chance around. I can see it, but not particularly clearly. Hello, caterpillar pods. It's on that dead tree there. Yeah, it is an eagle. I thought for a second it was part of the dead tree, but it's moving, and therefore not. Here we go. Hey, we managed it after all that. Oh, that explains that. I was about to say I saw an elephant earlier. That's because James and I are in the same place. That's pretty cool. Found each other without really intending to. You can hear there's squirrel's alarm calling. There it goes, off into the air. And off it goes. Well, we got lucky, everybody. We at least got a view of it. Okay, so James has ended up west. I've ended up west. We both went west, I think, because of the weather. Now, I'm going to leave this area. I'll leave James to his elephants. I was going to try and relocate them, but he must be just around here. So I'll move on. The Arathusa is very, very quiet. I'm very sorry, Lou. I did not understand that. Let me try fiddle with my volume so that you don't distort so much. Oh, it seems as though, since our bird has flown away, Tayla has found some of the most beautiful things in the African bush.
I think James was playing with these beautiful flowers earlier, but they are indeed Plumbago auriculatus. Now my eye is walking, it's not watering, it's watering. I'm not sure why all of the sardines started watering, but we will just let it water. But I've got new earrings, my model look, the blue steel, I think it is, hey, where you look over your shoulder and you... Trying not to pout, but yes, there's a couple of these these little shrubs scattered throughout the bush, and they're really lovely. From my hometown, Port Elizabeth, you'll see them everywhere, and they are definitely one of the flagship plants that you'll see around on the game reserves. They do very, very well. I'm actually surprised that they do so well. They're quite hardy flowers. They don't seem to mind frost too much, because they still manage to keep flowering a number of different times throughout the year, not just up here, but also down in the Eastern Cape, where frost is a little bit more prevalent. But like I've told you before, the Xhosas, the indigenous people down there, they always utilize the plumbago for jewelry. I've made myself a little bracelet as well. It's come undone. I don't know if it's going to withstand a shower, though. Probably not, but we'll just keep it on. And I think they're just a lovely shade of blue. I don't know, where else could we put these? We add some to my hat. We can just start. It doesn't work. Oh, it's sticking. See, they've got these very sticky ends, which helps. And normally they stick to your body hair. They don't apparently stick to hats very well. No. I've got one. I was going to do an entire veil of flowers across the top of my head. Maybe we'll be able to get it. But they really are lovely. Now, the plumbago does have quite a few traditional uses, if I'm not mistaken. Now I'm digging way back in the memory box. You can actually use, I think it's the roots of this plant. I'm not exactly sure how you prepare them, whether you burn them and you use the ash, or if you infuse it with water, make a concoction of some sort, and you drink the water. Normally, that will help you sort out a headache, which is quite nice. No, failed. I have half a hat with 3 plumbagos, 3 earrings on each earlobe, and a bangle. That is all I've been able to make. David, sorry, nothing for you. Right. You've got, David has actually got an earring, 1 earring though. You don't want, it's very manly. It's just manly enough to have, of course, 1 flower. That's something that we have been noticing as we've been walking along. We've been checking every single Vernonia plant that we see growing. I just lost my bangle. It's now dangling. Maybe I can just go up here. We'll just do that. So, and it's just been so interesting. They seem to be growing a lot along the main roads. I haven't seen any here, but if we do come across some in the next couple of steps, we'll have a look. But there are so many crab spiders at the moment on all of the Vernonias in different colors. We saw some small green ones, and then we saw a really beautiful cream colored one with brown sort of markings all over it. So I think that's in the process of changing its color. Like I said, we were chatting. I'm not exactly sure how they do change color. I'll have to have a look, of course, when I get back home. But we're going to keep on searching for all different kinds of spiders. We're only down to 2 species, so I'm sure we can find a couple more before the end of drive. James is still with the beautiful big elephants, and I think it's one that's pushing and pulling down trees. Let's go and watch him for a little bit longer.
Not exactly what it is, but that's what they're looking for. They're looking for those huge tubers. You've seen Steph dig them out the ground. You've seen Herbie and I dig them out the ground, but the name I cannot remember. And you can get water out of them. They're those tubers that produce sufficient sort of moisture, bitter tasting water, that if you're desperate you can use for digging or for drinking water. So we'll get that name from Herbie quickly. And obviously the great blowing of sand on the skin to make them feel good and to get rid of parasites, apparently. I'm not sure that it's ever been comprehensively proved that they are taking parasites off with the sand. I wonder if it doesn't just feel cool and feel nice. Like a self-massage. Rohan, do you like to give yourself a self-massage on your legs every so often after you've been on a tough walk or tough game drive?
Always, James.
Always. You see, I told you it was exactly the same thing. Maybe we should try and throw sand on ourselves. Ali, you're wondering about whether they scratch behind their ears with their trunks. They do. It's quite funny to watch. It's actually not behind the ear flap, but it's much the same as you would if you scratched where your ear actually begins. So, Rowan, if we can go to the bull here, sorry, right next to us, you can see the entrance of his ear there. It's got mud all over it there, and they will often scratch the entrance there. So they push the trunk in there and tickle it about and scratch it a bit, and then they carry on. I don't think I've not seen them scratch behind the actual ear, but I imagine it must get pretty itchy back there. No, we're not perhaps in the best position for both the elephants, but we're so close to them. We're only about 12 meters or so. And so I don't want to do too much moving around. As far as I can tell, it's only the three of them. It's the bull, the cow, and this calf who's wandering around, and maybe that other young bull we saw very early on. Rohan, you right there? Rohan has now got an elephant about 3 meters from him, just having a little bit of a bite to eat. She's getting slightly irritated, you can see. She's just moving a bit more quickly than the others, or than the bull. And I think it's because her calf sort of wandered around and then put us between her and him. And I think that's why there's the calf just through there. She's talking to him now. And they're just down through there. So I think maybe she was just, see, it's exactly what it was. She wanted to go and find out what he was doing. Lara, very nice question, and I don't know that anyone knows the answer to this. You say, do elephants have any special structure or special organ for perceiving infrasonic communication? You mean other than the ear? Lara, I don't think so. I think that they pick up infrasonic communication through the ears. I think their ears are designed for it. They do, however, have the ability to pick up, of course, the vibrations in the ground through specially designed feet. And I'm sure the arrangement of the bones and the way they're connected to each other in the feet allow them to do that. And so, although the bones, of course, are foot bones, they probably act in much the same way as ear bones do. So you've got those 3 sensitive bones in your ears that pick up all the different sound vibrations there are. And I think an elephant's feet have got similar bones for picking up, well, not similar, but same principle of vibration in their feet for picking up the vibrations of tectonic communication. So when they stamp on the ground, they can apparently hear it or feel it for miles around. But I think the infrasound is probably heard through the ears. You may find it's picked up by something else, maybe amplified perhaps by the shape of the forehead or something like that. Beautiful, beautiful, calming, peaceful, wonderful sighting this is. Scott, you are wondering about the structure of the family group. Now, this is an unusual arrangement we have here of what looks like a family, a bull, a cow, and a calf. A sort of nuclear affair. That's not typical, Scott, and in fact, I think it's just a construction that we've made here because that's what looks like what's going on. They don't normally live in families at all. They live in matriarchal herds where the females or a group of related females, sisters or cousins, will live together and they will raise their youngsters together, and the bulls move in and out of the herds for mating purposes. And they very seldom stay with the herds for long. So this situation of a bull, a cow and a calf in a sort of low-felt nuclear elephant family is unusual, and I'm pretty sure it's not a permanent arrangement. I'm pretty sure that this is a temporary arrangement, and that this bull will move off eventually or just sort of drop off the herd. And I suspect she too will join up with another herd. There are other elephants around here. I can hear them calling. There were a whole lot shouting way down to the south of where we are now. There were a lot around camp during the course of the night. And I think you'll find she's attached to one of the herds that have been around here. And they stay in, if not visual communication, probably olfactory and certainly within audio communication of each other. So although it might seem that she's separated from the rest of the herd, I don't think she has. And I think you'll find that he will join up, or at least he will remove himself from this situation at some stage. You know, he won't stay with her and with the youngster for long. It was still very, very sweet to see the little youngster with the adult bull. I loved that. Still digging and digging and digging and digging. Isn't he great? Teppy, you're looking at his tusks, which of course are massively important parts of any elephant's life, and you're saying they look a little short. Have they become short from age and use? No, he's not old. This elephant is not old. I would say he's about 25. So those tusks will actually get bigger, not smaller. But you're also saying that, at least not you're not also saying, you're wondering if they're small. They're not small. They're a pretty average size for an elephant bull in this area. They're extremely variable. I mean, some elephants will have no tusks. Some will have massive, massive tusks. And the reason I got a little tongue-tied there was I'm just trying to think how to say this best. But the tusks that you will see on elephants now, I suspect, are substantially smaller on average than the tusks you would have seen, say, 200 years ago. 200 years ago, if you'd come into this area, you'd have found much larger tuskers, and they would have been, if you sort of stood around for long enough, you'd have heard gunshots almost certainly as the European hunters came into the area, butchering the elephant populations of the area and taking away all of the big tusks. And so genetically, those big bulls who had the big tusks have been removed from the population, and so I think you'll find that tusk sizes are that much smaller than they would have been 200 years ago. But that said, an elephant like this, he doesn't need big tusks. You know, I mean, these tusks are very useful as they are. They're the right length to help him snap bits and pieces of branch off. They're the right length for him to dig out bark from the trees that he's trying to get bark off. So, if I was an elephant, while I would probably quite like to have tusks hanging down to the ground because I'd look very impressive and people would take lots of photographs of me, an elephant with tusks this big, I think, is ideal. I mean, that's the kind of size you want. They might be slightly short for effective defense, but I mean, that's almost a secondary thing for them. That's why the females have them too. The females don't do a huge amount of fighting, and certainly they will use them for defense, but they're far more useful as a feeding tool. This chap is now, he can't be more than 8 meters from us. It's wonderful. He's still having a little listen. And we're always conscious at this distance from an elephant, you don't take anything for granted. You make sure that you're watching his body language, making sure that he is not getting uncomfortable with you. You do that by watching his ears, watching whether he carries on moving or not. Oh, this is fantastic. Woo! John, you say, is it dangerous to approach elephants in a car? No, not necessarily, but they might put a tree on you if you're not careful. So we need to be a little bit careful here. I'm not entirely sure what his vibe is right now. I think he's still looking for those tubers under the ground. The tree, well, you saw how close it got. That's fantastic. One's heart doesn't quite leap into one's mouth, but it certainly does It is a... it goes up a little bit. But he's been so confiding and so calm around us. Well, Jamie's hawk eagle was not far from here, and she suddenly found herself in the elephant sighting, so she's moved on, I think probably down towards the south, so let's go and find out if she's found any further leopard tracks.
I found out something that has made me want to weep quietly against the steering wheel. I was just having a conversation with Herbie. He's found wild dog tracks on top of our vehicle tracks from this morning going south. We're desperately searching this area in the hope that perhaps we might get lucky and they're going to pop out. Herbie's just a little bit to the east of me along with Tayla on the bushwalk team, and they're tracking them on foot. We're tracking them from the vehicle because, of course, wild dogs move so fast, we need to have the advantage of the speed that it can give us. I just want to finish my conversation I was having with Herbie. Sorry, Herbie, can you repeat whereabouts those Nkonzo are heading? Oh, hold on. Okay, copy, Herbs. I haven't picked up anything around here. I'm at the junction, Weaver's Nest tree house. I'll let you know. So we're just discussing where those tracks have gone. Can you believe it? It's just one of those things. You can't always be in the right place at the right time. Otherwise, there'd be no challenge. This wouldn't be nearly as much fun as it actually is. Those are all hyena tracks. I just wanted to double check that. Okay. If they've gone this way, we still have a chance of seeing them. If they're going this way, then we're going to have to rush because we're right up close to our southern boundary. Now let's try this. Now Herbie thinks they've disappeared into the block just off to my left, racing in this direction. And he said he thinks they might have been chasing a herd of Impala. Oh, hello Impala. Have you by any chance seen a wild dog? Let's see what you look like. Do you look panicked? No, you look like you're a male fighting over a female. You don't look panicked at all. You look as though you're enjoying your breakfast. Generally speaking, when wild dogs have come through an area, everything is gone. You don't see Impala standing comfortably having a quick breakfast snack. I think that tells us that they haven't been here at least. Okay, let's carry on a bit further to the south, because if they are there, straight over our vehicle tracks, trotting merrily along. And James has spent the whole morning searching for them, and they must have just slid past him somehow and across to our side. Okay, let's get to the southern boundary. And I keep trying to smell them. It's the one animal where or one of the animals where your sense of smell can actually really come in useful, because wild dogs are particularly pungent, and that scent hangs in the air for a little while. It is windy though, which isn't going to help us, but even then, if they've been through this area in the last 10 minutes, we should be able to smell them. And I can't pick up on anything, and neither can Seb. There's no tracks here, just the bushwalk team. I'm sure they're feeling a bit like we are as well, because these wild dogs have also run circles around them. Now I'm going to need to concentrate on where these wild dogs have popped out, if they've popped out. Now while I concentrate, let's go and see how James feels about this whole situation.
Well, I feel a little depressed about it, but I'm quite pleased that I don't think I missed the tracks going south, which is nice. They obviously just didn't do what I thought they were going to do, and they went down towards the south where Jamie was going, and unfortunately they didn't get there before she did, which is quite strange because of course we left exactly the right time to sort of intercept them. Anyway, obviously they were hunting north of her as she passed over that area. So with any luck, her patience will be rewarded now. Quite nice, because they're probably still on the property, which is great news. It is a little bit depressing though, slightly. This chap is remaining very confiding and calm and easy next to us at about 4 meters now, maybe 5. Certainly not much more than that. And I always feel quite honoured at being this close to elephants. It really is great fun. The other two have moved off, as I sort of suspected they might, but this bull is staying right here. Oh, Dovey, you say, how should one behave if you come across an elephant on foot? Well, Dovey, the first thing you should do is throw your arms in the air, scream very loudly, and then run away. No, you mustn't do that. It really does depend on the elephant. Oh, he got a big fright from something. I think it was a bird. I think it was a little starling behind him. David, it depends on the elephant. Do they know you're there? Ideally, you want to view elephants on foot so they don't know you're there, because normally they will react in a manner that is, well, demonstrates that they feel threatened by you, which means that they will either move away quickly or raise their heads and their tails and indicate some form of alarm, which is insensitive. You don't want that, obviously. And so the best thing to do is try and view them in a manner that they don't realize you're there. And that's by using cover and by making sure that you're quiet, etc. If an elephant does notice you and does realize that you're there, often a big bull like this will not react at all. He'll just get on with his life and you won't worry about it too much. But sometimes they do react, and the best thing is to just put space between you and them. If an elephant does charge, and it's quite a good idea to stand your ground initially and just try and sort of turn it round with shouting and clapping, but ideally you want to put space between you and it. You don't want to just turn and run straight away, because with most animals out here that may induce a charge. And also you cannot outrun an elephant. So if an elephant is seriously coming towards you, you have to try and turn it round. And you could do that sometimes by making a big noise and by standing your ground. Of course, that is much easier said than done. And this is, I mean, we're sitting here 5 meters from an animal that probably weighs 5 tons. That's 5,000 kilograms. And as I'm being asked these questions, I'm running through stories in my head of incidents where elephants have hurt people and pushed cars over and got really upset and got very angry. And it's always a good idea just to remind yourself that these situations can change so fast. Michael, you say, what has been my favorite sighting of an elephant bull? Oh, I don't know. Oh, it was Franklin's. I can see Franklin's in front of him now. That's what that's what gave him the fright. There they are. Can you see them there, Ron? My favorite elephant bull sighting ever. It's difficult. I don't know, actually. I'm not sure that I can say. One springs to mind. It wasn't a very good one, but it was when I was doing my unarmed walks as a young ranger, young guide, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was terrified, and I came across an elephant in the bush, and I was walking through some very thick stuff. And I don't know if he ever knew that I was there or not, but it was the kind of view that you've got there right now, at about that distance. And my heart completely froze in my chest as I saw this thing. And I will always remember that. And I don't know if that was my favourite elephant sighting ever, but it was certainly it gave me a sense of how massive they are, of how impressive they are, and how vulnerable we are as human beings. So I think maybe that's just one that I'm thinking of now. Okay, I think we're going to leave this chap. We might do a little bit of a foray in the last few minutes of the drive to see if we can't find where those dogs popped out. Just going to quickly talk to Mike on the radio. Mike, animal still static in the same place off Impala Road. I'm going to have to leave the sighting now. There he is. So let's head across to Tayla and see if she has more light to shed on the pack of dogs. Is that elephant bull?
We haven't just yet. We lost the tracks quite far down, back towards sort of Twin Dams, Elephant Carcass, those roads, somewhere around there. They were going southwest. So Jamie is in the area around Tree House and she's been searching. But unfortunately, no more signs at the moment. But something I did want to chat about, seeing as though the dogs have given us a slip, is that I've collected a bunch of grasses. And you can see how they've changed colour. They're not so much green anymore. There are more yellows and browns. They're becoming dry. The nutrients are less. They're not very tasty. But what this means is that soon we're going to be on high alert for fires, because this grass is like petrol. This stuff burns really quickly, and I actually just wanted to demonstrate to you without burning my hands and without the wind blowing my flame away. No, we'll get it eventually. Now look, we have not had a breath of wind the entire morning, but all of a sudden it's now turned into a hurricane, and it will not allow me to light my bouquet of grasses. Okay, we won't light the bouquet of grasses, we'll just find some others. Let's get rid of a few, because they're not cooperating now. Okay, now the wind has stopped. The wind has died down slightly. No, and of course it's not working as well. There we go. That's what I wanted. That's what had been happening every time I tested it, is that just a small flame like that, when there's not a hurricane of wind, can very quickly burn the inflorescence of the grasses. That's sort of what goes dry quite quickly. And because there's so much grass around at the moment, with a little bit of wind, it would spread through an entire open area and burn it right down to the ground. So it's not always a good thing to have lots of grasses around, sort of coming towards the end of the year, just before it starts to get hot again, because it's sort of unpalatable vegetation. Not much will be eating it, and it's just sort of lying there waiting to be burned. At the moment we're still alright though. You can see a lot of the bush willows, of course the guarri leaves don't burn very well, the acacias are still pretty green, so we're fine. But like I said, in the next we're going to start to see a lot of these leaves falling off of the trees, and they'll become quite bare. Of course, those leaves then dry and fall to the ground, creating more of this moribund, all this excess vegetation that's building up, and it can cause a big problem. So you will see a lot of reserves, especially if we've got thatching grass, that also burns very well. They'll actually go and slash, so they'll take a special slasher, I suppose, or they could take machetes and pangas, and will hack away at the base of the plant just to shorten it completely. Otherwise, another technique that you can do is to actually burn yourself. So what you could go and do is you can, many types of conservation burns, and I think every property I've worked on before we've had to do burning before. So one of the things, you have a nice day like today, actually not too much humidity in the air, not too cold, not too hot, and a gentle breeze will be perfect burning conditions. That breeze would just push you to, obviously I need the breeze in a particular direction depending on where you'd like to burn, and then what you'd do is you'd set fire to the area that you want, and you go and stand on the other side. Make sure that when it comes you put it out. You should have already put in fire breaks though. Those types of things you want to put in before before you start doing any burning. So a fire break really does just look like the road, for example. It's an area that is cleared right down to the ground and is just bare sand, so that in hope that a fire does come and burns these grasses, normally there won't be any trees or anything close by, it'll get you and it will just fizzle out and the whole fire will stop. But it gusts out here, the wind can be quite excessive, and of course it can jump over the road and onto a tree too. Now, David, you're wondering if there's any plants out here that benefit from a bushfire. In this particular area, nothing really stands out to me that I can think of. But if you go to the Western Cape and Cape Town area, so all along the southwest coast of South Africa, all of those plants need all the fynbos species. Watch out, David, you're going to go over a little hump there. Most of the fynbos species need fire in some way in order to sort of regenerate again, which is quite interesting. So their fires are essential. Out here, well, we need them, of course. It's good for the grasses, like I said, it burns them right down, and normally the roots are the ones that just sort of last and stay below the ground. A little bit of water and they will come back up to the surface. But I could be corrected. If you do know of anything that particularly in this area relies on fire, you can let us know. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter with those answers. But otherwise, proteas and, well, the rest of the lot that all grows down in the Eastern Cape as well, the small part of fynbos as well, and then all the way along up to the west coast of South Africa has to have fire. So when you do see those big fires around Table Mountain, yes, it is very sad because a lot of people are now living in those areas and their homes could be burnt, but it is natural, and if we don't have plants, we cannot survive on this earth. We've got nothing producing oxygen for us. It'll be a really, really big shame. I just have to show you, look what David just tripped over. Not only is elephant dung great out here in the bush for many different reasons. For the dung beetles particularly, they haven't done a very good job apparently on this stretch of road because there's still massive big balls of elephant dung, and it almost caused David to break his ankle. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
You'll be fine. That's good. It's also great to play soccer with too. It was something I used to do with my kids, not my kids, but no, I don't have any children yet. So from the children that the guests that I would have had with, they would have their kids, and we get bored, and you find a nice big ball, not like one like this where the termites are partially down, but you can actually kick it around and do all sorts of fancy tricks. I just pretend like I know what I'm doing, but I don't. We're going to keep searching. We're going to have a look at a couple of mud wallows along the way to see if anybody's been drinking out of them. Jamie is still searching for the wild dogs. Hopefully she's had a little bit more luck.
These tracks are so fresh on top of mine that we should actually be able to smell them, but I definitely can't. So I just wanted to jump out and check this junction. James is also moving into this area to give us a hand, and I just want to see if these dogs have gone north or south from here, because the last track I had what were you? I think it was a mongoose. Just kept jumping out of the leaves and made it rustle. Last tracks I had were coming straight towards Treehouse Dam. They haven't popped out on this road. Yeah, they have. They're coming straight across. Just one. And the rest are going south along this road. We must have just missed them. Ah! Wild dogs! Wild dogs, wild dogs. Okay. I didn't see any tracks popping out there. That's where I last spoke to you, was just around there. So we must have been a step behind them. Which way to go? Should we take Treehouse or should we take Weaver's Nest? Because there's tracks going in both directions. Let's maybe get hold of James. James? What's your position? Okay, would you mind checking Treehouse again? There's tracks going west and south at that Weaver's Nest Junction, Treehouse Road. Copy, thanks. Sorry, not Treehouse, Scavenger Track, the northern one. I'm still trying to check Weaver's Nest to the south. Alright, it seems as though James and I are on the same page. Let me send you over to him.
Oh, we're live. I think we're live. Hello, everybody, we're live. We're going at a great speed down towards the south to see if we can't pick up on the wild dogs that we missed so palpably poorly this morning. I don't think it was really our fault. I'm going to blame the universe again. And you may see that I've got a different form of headdress on my head now. The winter beanie seemed to work okay, the beanie mic. So now I've got my hat mic back. And we're going to drive at quite a speed. Ooh, what was walking along here? A hyena. Let's keep going. I think what we'll do is check the southern boundary towards Treehouse Dam. That's where Jamie thinks they're heading. And I think they might be going south. The climate, I nearly said climate. The temperature today, the weather today, that's the word I was looking for, weather. The weather today is much like it was yesterday, and we know that they moved a lot during the day yesterday, and so I think they'll probably do the same today. It is now 19 degrees apparently, 16 degrees, 67 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold for this time of the day out here. Now we're on the southern boundary, the Gari main road. And I think your question was, can we expect to see wild dogs in the Masai Mara? The answer is yes, in theory. I don't think that they're common at all, though. So I'm afraid I don't think it's likely that we'll see them, but we might. I certainly didn't hear sight or sign of them when I was there last year. Now the trick when you're tracking something like this is to be able to check the road for the tracks, of course, but at the same time move fast enough so that if they are moving, you don't miss them moving. But you don't want to miss the tracks going across the road. There's another vehicle in front of us there. Now they look like they're looking at something, they do. They've just come out of the block here. I don't see any dog tracks. Oh, it's a wildebeest they're looking at. A lonely wildebeest bull. So I don't think the dogs have crossed out of Djuma. That is good news. Let's keep pottering along here. And turn up this way. Wave politely, because I'm so polite. I'm known for my politeness, aren't I? Hang on, here are the tracks here. Here are the tracks. Justin, you say, would wild dogs be less exciting if they were easier to track? No, I don't think so. Maybe. I don't know, that's an interesting question. They've come down here, and that vehicle we just went past has driven straight over the top of the tracks without noticing them. That is very distressing. Jamie, do you copy? Jamie, come in. Yeah, they've gone straight across here. Yeah, they've crossed south here at the junction with Shibam. Oh well, they might come back. Station on Gary Main. Copy that. The dogs crossed south at just near that Wildebeest. Well, I suppose we can look at the Wildebeest, can't we? There you go. There is a Wildebeest who is probably quite pleased that the dogs have gone to the south. I bet he saw them go past as well. Ah, that peaceful time of the morning has started. When the thought of Amanda's breakfast starts to come to the mind, the feel of a hot cup of coffee in one's hand, and of course the general inane banter around the breakfast table that will no doubt fill the atmosphere. So the depressing thing about this, of course, is that this pack of dogs was on the reserve for the whole time that we were looking for them. We were just not in the right place. Wonderful, wonderful sight here of these tall grasses waving in the wind with the wildebeest in the middle of them. And I'm just listening to the radio again, not about the dogs this time, but lions crossing onto Biffle's Hook. Now, Tayla McCurdy is a long, long way from where we are, despite the fact that she, of course, put us onto the trail here, and she'd like to tell you also about the scent that is filling her nostrils.
The scent that is filling my nostrils is just the smell of the wilderness, really, I think. I haven't actually got much of a scent just yet, but I suspect that in a couple of steps when we get to the dried out dam, we will most likely get a horrible stench of dirty drain water, because that's what this muddy area seems to smell like every time, of course, the water dries out. But let's come and have a look. Maybe we'll see some cool things. I think those dogs, just too quick for us. We must have just missed them this morning. But you know what they're like? They don't like to run in one sort of direction. They zigzag around all the time, which makes it almost impossible to try and predict where they're going to pop out. But come and look at what a death trap this is. I wish I have a rock. I'm going to pick a rock up now, and we're going to see. Let's make sure there's no one's living under this rock. Look in the middle. Now, it looks quite hard, don't you think, Davy? Mm-hmm. I don't want to go and stand on it because I don't want to get stuck in the mud, though I'm sure you would all enjoy me sinking away, but let's watch this rock. Crazy, right? Did you see that? Now, it looks all solid, but if a buffalo were to go walking in that mud, and it's sinking, actually look at the rock, look how it's sinking, it's going further and further down. So that's exactly what would happen to something like a buffalo, an impala, a hippo, even an elephant could find itself, even a young elephant, particularly a young elephant, could find itself trapped in mud like this. So always be very careful when you are walking around, because I think you'd lose your shoes in this, firstly. And imagine if a lion or something, or a group of hyenas had to come across Tayla stuck in the mud. I'm sure they'd be very much excited. I wouldn't be too excited, of course, so I shall be avoiding spots like this. And not much around. You can see there were actually a couple of tortoises that tried their luck. Very risky. You can see the little tortoise tracks going across the top of the mud, and it looks like some of them actually sort of went in, and I think they started to sink deeper and possibly turned around and went the other way. Now, depending on what you are, you might be able to walk over this. So if you're something like a bird, if you're a spider, if you're a little fly, you will not get caught in this death trap. But anything else, be careful. And I think we almost need a warning sign up here for the animals, though I don't know if they can read English, but it's always worth a go. But let me Let me try. No, I'm scared now. I don't really want to go falling in some of the mud. You can see how it's cracked up nicely. It looks like there were a couple of Impala that unfortunately sunk down to their knees. And we have seen zebra and Impala with black legs before quite often. So that's what creates all the black legs. Wow, I thought they were going to be amazing tracks. Not many tracks, except once was a guinea fowl. Well, it's come from a guinea fowl. It is a feather, and they like to live around here. They often nest in the knobthorn tree that's just behind David with all the buffalo weavers in. They like it up in there. Where else do the guinea fowls normally sit? No, normally in these big knobthorns make for a great spot. Now, there are a couple of ducks or something down in the distance. I don't know if they're white-faced whistling ducks. I can just see silhouettes of them in the pan below us. That is also drying up very, very, very quickly. I think these are James's ducks. He always comes and stops here to have a look at them, but I shall try and sneak a view in through the camera to see if I can tell you exactly what they are. But it is even that, it is very difficult. So you're going to have to tell me. I think they are white-faced whistling ducks, but unfortunately I cannot see very well with the glare. Oh, they don't have a white face, David? It's hard to tell from where we are. Ah, yeah, thank you, Louise. Louise has confirmed that she can see an adult with a white face. Now, there's not many birds out here that have got white face. We don't have any South African shell ducks, so my guess would be that it is a group of white-faced whiffling ducks. White-faced whistling ducks, of course. Right, before I dig my grave any deeper, it's been a fantastic time with all of you, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. We've only got a couple of minutes left of the show, but we'll, of course, see you later. I'm going to send you across to Jamie.
I have sad news for all of you. Obviously, James has told you that the dogs crossed. They have since been seen racing off across Arathusa, the southern boundary of Arathusa, and straight into a property that we cannot drive upon. Just one of those things, one of those days where the wild dogs were one step ahead of us at every turn, but they're wild dogs. You never know, sunset safari this afternoon, they might come dashing back again. None of us expected them to go south from where they were yesterday evening, and they did, so they could just as easily come back to the east. There's no reason why they can't. Listening to a bird, but they're a little bit too far in. Next time I'll show you this particular bird. And now everywhere I look I see wild dog tracks. They're just taunting me. And the hyenas weren't home. Been a sad day for Jamie. Well, we had a lovely mongoose sighting though, didn't we? That was very special. And those mongoose continued on for quite a long time. I think it was the first time those little babies have come out of their burrow and have gone out with their parents. Why do I see wild dog tracks going this way? I'm just going to pretend that I'm not seeing it. But I can't do that, can I? No, it must have just... No, it's a hyena. Phew! Phew! At least we have a conclusion to the wild dog story, even if it's not quite the ending we were hoping for. No, it's definitely... Jamie, stop looking. It's definitely hyenas. Don't need to stop and see it. It's definitely hyenas. Definitely not wild dogs taunting you. Alright, now my foot on the accelerator is getting heavier and heavier because of course the prospect of breakfast is beckoning, and I wonder what treats Amanda has in store for us this morning. Who knows? I'm hoping it's a cooked breakfast morning. I can't remember where we are up to in the schedule, but sometimes Amanda breaks the pattern and gives us something different every time. However, it's time for us to say our farewells. So thank you to Sebastian. I'm sorry for getting confused yesterday afternoon during the sunset safari. And thank you to Lou and to Alice in Final Control for keeping all of us under wraps. And most importantly, thank you all for joining us. Be excited about this afternoon's sunset safari because, as always, it is filled with infinite possibilities. We'll see you then.